Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the MCDFNL Footy Show for another week, our first finals edition for the year, and isn't it starting to get exciting around the Maryborough Castlemaine District Football and Netball League at the moment? The days are getting longer, the weather's getting better, and that smell of finals football is definitely in the air as we approach week one of the 2015 MCDFNL Final Series this weekend. My name's Shaun Kelly, joining you as always. With me is Sam Gowers. Sam, welcome once again.
Thanks, mate. Glad to be here.
Great to have you along once again, and of course a big round 16 last week that we'll touch on very shortly.
Massive weekends and massive results for different teams, so it should be interesting come finals time.
Yeah, it should be very interesting. Let's have a look at the round 16 senior football matches. All the results coming up on the screen at the moment. Harcourt 23-10-148 defeating Avoca 13-12-90. Campbell's Creek 20-17-137 defeating Trentham 8-8-56. Carisbrook 23-12-150 defeating Newstead 1 goal 3-9. Maldon 16-6-102 defeating Denali 9-12-66. Lexington 15-8-98 defeating Talbot 9-9-63. Maryborough Rovers 18-10-118 defeating Royal Park 18-5-113 in the upset of the round, and one that we'll speak more about very shortly. And Navarre 26-5-161 defeating Natty Bialaba 11-3-69. Not a lot of behind scored in that last game.
No, very straight kicking by the Hoppers and the Swans.
It was indeed. Let's have a look at the round 16 A-grade netball results, please, Sammy, as we figure out after this as well. We'll have a look at both ladders and see how everything panned out for 2015's finals.
In the A-grade netball this week, Shaun, Avoca 36 drew with Harcourt 36, their second draw for the season. Trentham, massive win over Campbell's Creek 76-9. Ebony Whiting shooting 50 goals for the Saints. Carisbrook booking their spot in the finals 43 to Newstead's 27. Maldon 52 knocking off Denali 25. Lexington massive win over Talbot 79-5. Royal Park 43 defeating Maryborough Rovers 37. And Navarre 45 knocking off Natty Bialaba 35.
So let's have a look at the ladders for 2015 and see how they finished up. First, the footy ladder, there it is, and as we can see, Navarre undefeated on top of the ladder. Carisbrook and Lexington second and third, and Natty Bialaba in fourth, giving us our qualifying final matchups, which we'll talk about later on in the show. Harcourt moved up to fifth with Royal Park's loss last weekend. Bushy dropping to sixth, Talbot in seventh, and it was Campbell's Creek claiming that final place in the top eight. Maryborough Rovers in ninth, stiff, did what they need to do, held up their end of the bargain, but Trentham couldn't get over the line for them to knock it over as well. So bad luck to the Maryborough Rovers, a bit stiff, but life goes on. You've got to win the games when you need to.
Yes, you do indeed, but they had a very good win over their arch rivals on the weekend, getting up for Brad Fraser's 300th game as well.
Talk more about that in a second, because that is our first talking point for the week. But before we get to that, netball ladder on the screen at the moment. Navarre finishing on top of the ladder in the A-grade netball. Natty Bialaba in second, Harcourt in third, and Lexington taking fourth place with their big win on the weekend. Maldon finishing fifth, Avoca dropping to sixth after their draw on the weekend as well, which means they will now play Trentham, who finished seventh, and Carisbrook, of course, as Sam just mentioned, getting that eighth spot in the elimination final last week against Newstead. So Newstead finishing ninth and eliminated from contention. Talking points for this week, and we've already foreshadowed that first talking point, the Maryborough Rovers. Too little, too late, I think, unfortunately, was the word for the Rovers. They got the job done. They got the win for Brad Fraser in the 300th game. They got that win that they thought they needed to play finals, but Campbell's Creek getting the job done up in Trentham means that the Rovers, after looking locked into the final 6 or 7 weeks ago, miss out.
Yeah, just those couple of slip-ups mid-season, Shaun, put the Rovers out of contention. But big congratulations to Brad Fraser on his 300th game for the Magpies. Great bloke, great footballer for the Magpies over the years. Well done, Fraser.
Yeah, well done to Brad. And anybody that wants to see that game, once again, head to the AFL Goldfields TV portal, www.aflgoldfields.tv. Head to MCDFNL round 16, and you'll see that the Navarre versus Maryborough Rovers game for round 15 is there. Its label's round 16, but also the round 16 game between the Rovers and Royal Park is there as well. So check it out, and check out what was a fantastic come-from-behind win by the Maryborough Rovers, who trailed by as much as 4 goals at three-quarter time before they got over the line by 5 points.
Yes, correct. A few blokes from Rovers said it was fairy tale stuff in the last quarter, but sadly missed out on the finals, like we said.
So therefore, the fairy tale had a sad ending rather than happy endings, like all fairy tales do.
It did, but onwards and upwards next year for the Magpies.
It is indeed. Talking point number 2 is in the A-grade netball ranks, and Avoca and Harcourt have played twice this season in A-grade netball, and we are yet to find which is the better team because we haven't had a winner and we haven't had a loser. They played their second draw for the season on the weekend.
Yeah, it'd be hard-pressed, I think, to find that occurring in too many competitions across the state, whether it be netball or football.
Definitely would, and of course, as we mentioned, it probably didn't have too much of a negative effect on Harcourt's ladder finishing position. Obviously, if they had scored one more goal, they would have finished in second, but it doesn't matter because they're playing Natty Gallagher in the final anyway, even if they'd have finished second or third. Avoca, though, dropped from 5th to 6th. Now they have to face Trentham rather than facing Carisbrook, which is probably the harder matchup as well for Avoca now, so could have some interesting permutations as we go back onto our word of the week from last week.
Certainly could. You're enjoying that word at the moment.
I am.
But, yeah, it should be interesting this weekend to see who wins that first final.
It will be indeed. Talking point number 3 for this week is the MCDFNL's Junior Presentation Night and Vote Count being held this coming Monday night, the 31st of August, at the Maryborough Harness Racing Club. It's going to be a great night. Come along, make sure you enjoy it. We're going to have a fantastic guest speaker in attendance as well. Australian netball legend Eloise Southby is going to come along to say hello to everybody, regale with us with her story, and she'll probably get out there and do some interactive kind of stuff as well. So it'll be great to have Eloise there, and of course we find out all of the high achievers from the 2015 seasons at our junior level.
Should be a fantastic night, always is, and Eloise Southby will be a great speaker, I think.
And we'll put on a feed for you, and you don't have to pay for it.
Well, that's even better.
Exactly right. Come along. Make sure, if clubs haven't let us know the numbers as yet, email myself or email Scott, just so we've got an idea for numbers so we can make sure that we're catering enough for everybody on the night. Let's move on. Let's look at the first week in the finals and some huge games being played this weekend, starting with the A-grade netball games, because we need to give netball some love at this time of year. It's getting very much to the fair income stage of the weekend. The first qualifying final being played at Carisbrook on Saturday afternoon. We'll go through the whole round. 13 and under is Maryborough Rovers versus Carisbrook. 15 and under Maryborough Rovers versus Lexington. 17 and under Natty Bialaba versus Carisbrook. C grades Avoca and Lexington. B grades Avoca and Lexington. And then the A grade game will be Navarre taking on Lexington, and probably one of the more familiar matchups in A-grade netball since the Lexington Plains Footy League closed down and Navarre and Lexington came into the competition, because these two teams know each other back to front.
They certainly do. They played some absolutely cracking finals over the last few years, a couple of great grand finals as well. I'm going to go with Navarre in this one. They finished on top of the ladder, so obviously you've got to go with the Hoppers. Hard
to tip against Navarre at the moment. As you mentioned, haven't lost a game all season long. We do know that strange things happen in finals, and happened to Natty Bialaba last year when they got tipped up in a preliminary final by Navarre. But I can't see it happening this week. Just think that Navarre will be too strong. Saw them play against Lexington a few weeks back, and they had their number pretty convincingly. Second qualifying final day being played at Hedges Oval on Saturday. I'll be there watching all of this action as well. 13 and under is Talbot v Harcourt. 15 and under Harcourt v Trentham. 17 and under Harcourt v Royal Park. C grades Harcourt v Malden. B grades Harcourt v Natty Bialaba. And the A grade game, Natty Bialaba versus Harcourt, second versus third. And this will be a cracking game of netball.
It should be. Obviously, I'm going to tip Natty in this, but Harcourt have been a bit of a dark horse this season, very improved side, so it should be an interesting game. Yeah,
it will be indeed. Natty Bialaba, of course, taking it up to Lexington Navarre last weekend, so they will be very interesting, and they'll get to the finals and still have a bit of a sour taste in their mouth after their loss last year in the preliminary final, so they will be going hell for leather to win this one. I think they'll just get over the line as well against a very determined Harcourt team.
Fingers crossed.
First elimination final on Sunday at Princess Park. I'll be at this one too, so watching a lot of football and netball this weekend, so going very nicely. 13 and under Malden v Campbell's Creek. 15 and under Navarre v Talbot. 17 and under Maryborough Rovers v Navarre. C grades Carisbrook Navarre. B grades Carisbrook Navarre, but A grade Malden taking on Carisbrook, and Malden in some very, very impressive form leading into the finals.
Certainly always an impressive side, Malden, regardless of how their football side might be travelling. I'm going to go with the Bombers in this one. Carisbrook just sneaking into the 8, so obviously go with the Dons.
Yeah, Bombers for mine as well. Shown some better form in recent weeks. Carisbrook a fantastic job to win what was an elimination final against Newstead last week, to get themselves into a position to play off for the premiership, but I don't think they'll see past this week. I just think that they will be too strong, Will Malden. Second elimination final day, Sunday at Hedges Oval as well. 13 and under Denali v Avoca, 15 and under Denali v Avoca, 17 under Avoca v Campbell's Creek, C grade Natty Bialaba v Royal Park, B grade Malden versus Trentham, and A grade Avoca versus Trentham. And isn't it great to see the Trentham netballers playing finals this year?
Certainly, it's been down for a number of years, the Saints, so great to see them in the finals. Unfortunately, I think Avoca might knock them off.
I reckon this will be a really close game because Trentham will set themselves for this, and they've been in some good form, but they're stiff because they've drawn last year's grand finalists in the first week of the finals, who made the grand final from 5th last year, so they know how to go about winning these elimination games. I think Avoca as well. I'd love to see Trentham get over the line though and continue the fairy tale.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of neutral supporters would love to see the Saints win, but I just think the Bulldogs have got too much finals experience.
100% in agreement with you on that one. Time to talk footy. Time to talk qualifying finals in the MCDFNL, and we'll have a look at first qualifying final day this Saturday at Carisbrook. Under 11.5s is Royal Park v Malden. Under 14.5s is Campbell's Creek v Natty Bialaba. The under 17.5s is Trentham versus Navarre. The reserves is Natty Bialaba versus Navarre, and the senior football, Navarre versus Natty Bialaba, coming off a week where Navarre gave Natty Bialaba an absolute touch-up last week. What chance do Natty have this week against the juggernaut that is the Navarre Grasshoppers?
I suppose the only positive the Swans can take away from last week is just seeing how good Navarre are and what they need to beat them. I think maybe they're lacking a little bit of firepower, especially Jared Bates, and probably their most important midfielder.
That really hurts. He is a gun of the competition, and not having him there, it really leaves a hole when you have to play a team as good as Navarre.
Yeah, it certainly robs the Swans of a bit of leg speed as well, which Navarre has got in spades. I'm going to tip Natty, but obviously heart overhead there.
Yeah, tipping Navarre for me cannot go against them, especially with the form they've shown last week against this potential opponent. We know it will be closer. There's no doubt about that. It won't be 90 points again, I don't think, because Natty Bialaba will give themselves a stronger showing and nerves will get involved. But we've actually seen in previous years that these two teams have been pretty close come finals time and come home and away games as well. That got blown out of the water last week. Navarre will win this game and go through to a preliminary final and make it 2 consecutive years of winning games of football at senior level.
Yeah, I think the Grasshoppers probably will win, but I'd love to see the Swans win.
Of course you would. Looking at the second qualifying final, also on Saturday at Hedges Oval. The Carisbrook day at Hedges Oval. It's funny, there's games at Carisbrook, and then Carisbrook have got what is basically a home and away fixture for them at another ground. So it is under 11.5s, Carisbrook v Avoca. Under 14.5s is Carisbrook versus Trentham. Under 17.5s is Carisbrook versus Newstead. The reserves is Lexington versus Carisbrook, as is the seniors. Carisbrook versus Lexington. Last year, this was the game of the finals in the first week at Hedges Oval, and it promises once again to be an absolute ripper.
Yeah, I think this should be an absolutely fantastic clash. Carisbrook, a little bit wobbly the last few rounds of the season. Lexington just tracking along nicely, but I think the Redbacks have a little bit too much firepower for the Tigers.
Redbacks righted the ship last week, 150-9 against Newstead. Absolutely walloped them, and our man back on the goal-kicking list. 7 goals to Big Nath last week. At the other end of the ground, Matty Brown, 9 last week as well against Lexington. So he is in some form. He did win, of course, the leading goal kicker award for season 2015. Do we see a shootout at all?
Could be a shootout between two of the footy show's favourite figures here. I think Matt Brown might take the honours in the goal kicking, but I think Carisbrook will get the win.
I actually think it'll be down to probably the second tier goal kickers for both teams, and the blokes with a bit more run in their legs. Lockie Murray for Lexington and Matt Bilton for Carisbrook, who have both hit the scoreboard in a big way this week, and are both players that the opposition coaches Tim McKay and Shane Fisher cannot afford to ignore on the day.
Yeah, certainly not. And Justin Hobson showed us the other week for Lexington as well that he's no mug in front of goals, but in 10. So he'll be on Tim McKay's mind as well.
He will be indeed. Going with going with Carisbrook, but only very just, because I actually reckon Lexton are a huge threat for the premiership this year if they can get that far. They've shown that they can take it up to Navarre, but the problem they have, if they lose this game, whoever loses this game has to see Navarre in a preliminary final instead of a grand final. So you really want to get through and get into that preliminary final starting this week, and I reckon Carisbrook will just get over the line as they did last year. But I could be proven wrong, and I stand to be proven wrong, and I will not be surprised if it does happen.
Yeah, it should be an absolute ripper of a game. I reckon that's the pick of the finals this week.
I reckon you're right as well. As we move on to Sunday and we return to Princess Park for the 2015 final series, where it will be, of course, from Sunday onwards after the Maryborough Footy Club get their last home game for the season out of the way on Saturday. We have the fixture being in 11.5s. We have Lexton versus Maryborough Rovers. Under 14.5 is Newstead versus Lexton. Under 17.5 is Natty Bialaba versus Royal Park. The reserves is Royal Park versus Campbell's Creek, and then the senior match, Harcourt versus Campbell's Creek. Two teams that are very, very familiar with each other. Two teams that have had some players cross over to the other during the season. Adam Pollock and Joel Smith, huge last week in the last round. Both played in this day for Campbell's Creek last year against Royal Park. Now they're playing for Harcourt against Campbell's Creek. And of course, the Burger man himself coaching Harcourt and was coach of Campbell's Creek this time last year.
Yeah, so a little bit extra feeling in this clash. These two are, of course, big rivals. I think the Lions are going to win this one. They had a nice start to the season, a little bit of more winning form, so I'm going to back them to beat the Creekers.
Yeah, an impressive win last week against Avoca, really getting Harcourt back on the winners list. And I suppose the main thing for them was the spread of goal kickers last week. Adam Pollock kicking 5, little wee man McMurtry kicked 4 goals, Joel Smith kicked 4, Chris Stone kicked 4. They had goal kickers coming out of the yin-yang, and it was great to see. Obviously, the Ashmore boy is going to be very hard to stop for Campbell's Creek as well. Mark kicked 7 last week, and I think Luke's kicked 4 as well. So if they can get on early, if Campbell's Creek can get on early and start really well, then I reckon they're half a chance. But I just feel Harcourt probably that little bit better form going into the week.
Yeah, like you said, Harcourt does have a big spread of goal kickers, so Creek will need to make sure their defence is switched on early, otherwise it could be blowout time.
Could be indeed. And of course, on Sunday, second elimination final day at Hedges Oval. In the under 11.5s, it's Denali versus Campbell's Creek. In the under 14.5s, it's Royal Park and Avoca. Under 17.5s, Avoca versus Talbot. The reserves is Harcourt versus Talbot. And senior football, Royal Park versus Talbot at Hedges Oval. Royal Park, I suppose the one upside of dropping from 5th to 6th is that they now play a home final, so to speak.
Yeah, they certainly do, but they miss out on that double chance, so they'll need to make sure they're switched on against the Hawks. Hawks are pretty hungry for a bit of success. Royal Park may be a little bit wobbly after going down to Rovers last week. That being said, I'm going to go with the Tigers.
It'll be interesting to see, because Talbot will very much take the nothing to lose approach into this match, because probably not too many people are going to tip them. Royal Park are very confident that they'll get through this week. There's no doubt about that. Matty Smith will go in there basically saying, no one's tipping us, no one's backing us, let's just back ourselves in, see how we go. And as we know, strange things can happen in finals. And whilst, yes, Royal Park will be very familiar with the ground, and probably if you look on paper, they have a much, much more talented side, you can't doubt the ticker of Talbot. And if Trent Barris gets going through the midfield and starts kicking goals, it starts to make life dangerous. Luke Kemp starts sniffing around as well, of course. Matty Smith himself off half-back. Bobby Conroy will come back into the side as well after having a rest last week. So I reckon this is going to be a pretty good game.
Yeah, it should be an absolute ripper. Like you said, Talbot will have that nothing-to-lose approach. Early on in the season, probably no one even tipped them to make finals.
No.
So to even get into that top 8 is a massive achievement for the Hawks. They'll want to use that as a springboard towards a bit more success.
They will indeed. Can you see them doing it, though?
I think they'll go close, but the Tigers, I'm going to say by just a couple of goals.
Same with me as well. Royal Park for mine. Where are you heading this weekend, please? Natty on Saturday, going out to Carisbrook to have a look at the Swannies?
Yes, I will be going to have a look at the Swans on Saturday. I'd better be at the C-grade netball on Sunday.
Yes.
Just watching the girlfriend play for the Swans.
That is important.
It is.
So we won't cross paths over the weekend, because I'm at Hedges on Saturday and Carisbrook on Sunday, Princess Park on Sunday. So that will actually augur well for next week's footy show, because we'll have all bases covered.
We will indeed. Full report.
Full report. Make sure you're in for that next week, because it's going to be a great show. Thanks for joining us once again on the MCDFNL Footy Show, previewing week 1 of the finals. We'll see you next week.